Hey everyone, and welcome to the Hearthstone Rewind, our YouTube series where we take a look at classic Hearthstone matches, provide a little bit of background on what's going on, the historical context of it all, and then commentate over it, just seeing how different the game is, how things have evolved, how much they've stayed the same, and just generally see what's going on. And it's been a lot of fun. The first one, we took a look at Firebat winning his first World Championships. We took a look at the infamous paddling book between Pavel and Mniziak. And in this week's video, we're going to take a look at one of the more infamous meme matchups, basically the first real competitive Hearthstone tournament ever, and that's the Hearthstone Innkeepers Invitational. So this was a tournament back in, I believe, 2013, between 8 different players. It was an invitational, featured some of Hearthstone's most dedicated, passionate, and well-known players that were selected by Blizzard. This was an invitational, and you'll probably note and recognize a bunch of these names. We had Artosis, Kripparian, Reckful, may he rest in peace, Trump, Day 9, Hafu, Husky, and Noxious. So a couple of Canadians in there and a bunch of Americans, and they battled it out throughout quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. It was a best-of-5 format, and basically for each game, one deck, I guess the decks were picked blindly. The winner of the game keeps his deck, and the loser of his game selects an unused deck. So basically, you just kept winning as long as you kept your deck and all that stuff. It was an interesting format. But yeah, this tournament's probably best known for Reckful versus Kripparian. There's an infamous missed lethal in one of the games that cost Reckful his series, or his chance of winning this tournament, which was basically kind of called the World Championships back then, but really wasn't. And I thought we would take a look at that game, and then we'll take a look at the deciding game between Kripparian and Reckful, and, just see how different the game was. This is during closed beta, by the way. This is before the game was open to everybody. Very primitive. We have no Naxxramas. It is literally just classic and basic cards. So let's take a look. Let's jump back into the time machine. Let's rewind and take a look at the battle between Kripparian and Reckful at the Hearthstone Invitational in 2013. Here we are, we have Reckful versus Kripp. Reckful has Priest, Paladin, Mage. Kripp has Mage, Priest, and Paladin, so it's a mirror match in terms of the deck styles they took, or at least the classes. Let's take a look, we'll see what kind of decks they bring. This is the infamous game. If you haven't seen the Missed Lethal, this is the one that created all the memes. And I just want to say, Reckful has passed recently, and I want to do this game kind of as a tribute to him. I absolutely loved him. I got to talk to him one time in person. Well, not in person, but on the Hearthstone client. I had faced him, and he was super nice. He had lost the game, and he apologized to me for roping and all that. And I stayed friends on him on Hearthstone for like a year after this. So it was really cool. And it's sad that he's gone, but he still will always have his legacy of a lot of stuff, including this. It's a solid meme, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind having it being, lived in infamy. So here we go. We got Reckful versus Kripp. It looks like Kripp is playing a priest deck. Looks probably like a control priest. I don't know what else he would really play back in 2013. Maybe an Inner Fire Priest, but we got Azure Drake Powered Shield, probably more control. And we got Reckful on the Mage. 1 mana Mana Worm. We got Ice Block. Mana Worm's now 2 mana. Ice Block is Hall of Fame, but probably some kind of like tempo freeze-ish mage, maybe. Some kind of burn mage, I would imagine. If you got Ice Block and burn. Kripp's got a Temple Enforcer. Zephyrus' favorite card. Back here it's 6 mana, 6/6. It's now a 5 mana card. And we got Reckful playing Mana Worm on 1. Very smart play. It's a pretty strong play back then. It would still be strong today, especially with all the mana generation. But Kripp's got the answer. Shadow Word Pain locks it up. Reckful has the other Mana Worm, though, but Kripp has the answer for that as well in Shadow Word Death, where he can kill it in like 3 turns, It's very smart, because that Mana Worm can very quickly get out of control, but not so much back in these days. Reckful probably has like Ice Lance, Frostbolt. They'll be as cheap as burn to buff it, but yeah. Looks like Kripp's going to tempo out of Sun Fury, taunt it up, buff it up with the Powered Shield. Makes sense. You just want to get on board, get some stats. And Reckful probably just going to draw here, I would imagine. You're not going to really worry too much about this. Meaning, you want to cycle through your deck at some burn, but again, this is back in the day. Nobody had truly mastered Hearthstone back then, but Reckful is a very solid player. He got rank 1 legend multiple times throughout his career. He played competitively to an extent, but he became such a huge streamer, he just didn't need it. He did his own stuff. But Reckful's one of the better players out there. He was a very, very solid player, and Kripp could hold his own, you know. Kripp wasn't like ever a top ladder player or a top competitive player, but he could definitely hold his own. He's a good player. He's done amazing in Arena, and if you got to do amazing in Arena to be able to do that, you got to be able to play the game well. And you see that he plays Argus, which was a 3-3 back in beta, not a 2-3 like it is now. Allows him to get that value trade on the Sun Fury, kill the Mana Worm. And now Reckful's in a bit of a predicament. The board's getting a little bit bad. Reckful with a smart play, fireballing Kripp in the face. A little bit of a smirk, I swear, Reckful had there. You know, good old smirk. Kripp, you know, he's at 22 health. Might want to weave in hero powers, but probably just wants to fight for board. Draw through his deck. Azure Drake comes down, draws. We've got 8 mana Mind Control. Oh my goodness, that would still be unplayable today. But yeah, I mean, that was probably pretty good then. It was worth playing. You also see a Holy Fire in Kripp's hand. It's a 6 mana spell. Deals 5, heals for 5. That got Hall of Fame last year as well. Never got nerfed, but, you know, back here it's some burn, it's some reach, and of course it's some healing. The strategy here for Reckful is he needs to burn his opponent out. He needs to burn the priest out. He's never going to win the board. This is classic Freeze Mage, where you have a limited amount of burn in your deck, and you need to try and kill your opponent. You have to factor in all the burns. So he gets Blood Mage down on the board to get a bit of cycle, but also push some spell damage. Puts the Fireball to 7, and that puts Kripp down to 18. So yeah, just pushing damage, and Blood Mage helps him cycle. Don't know if there's like a silence or anything in Kripp's stack or anything like that. Probably not. And yeah, so Kripp's objective is just going to be stay alive. He wants to try and put pressure onto Reckful. He doesn't want to let, you know, Reckful assemble all of his burn, all that stuff to be able to do whatever he wants to do. He wants to put a bit of pressure, but he needs to heal. He needs to weave in hero powers. He needs to find his healing, and that's going to be limited back here. You're going to have like Holy Fire and your hero power. Maybe an Alex Straza, something like that, but healing is definitely going to be limited. We don't have Apotheosis or Renews back in the day, so... You know, he's got to trade. He's got to take the spell damage off. It's a threatening thing. Hero power the face. Heal up as much as possible. He's at 17. He's getting whittled down. And you can see Reckful has Frostbolt, has Ice Lance. He's got a 5-mana Blizzard. Yes, it used to cost 5 mana. And he's got a Cobalt Geomancer for spell damage. It's literally just run to help burn out. You could play Cobalt and play Frostbolt, Ice Lance, and you push a bunch of extra damage. Whereas you've seen that, like, you know, with Malagos, or like there's been 4 mana minions with spell damage plus 2 you've run for burn through. He's just going to stall, you know. Reckful's just going to stall, freeze the board, and that's basically all he can do. Doesn't want Kripp pushing the damage. He's down to 17 himself. That is a lot of minion damage on the board. We have Shattered Sunclair gets a 3-3 here, back in the beta. Not a 3-2, and it was worth running, apparently. So, you know, cards were limited. You only have Classic, Basic, Kripp and Reckful making the best of their stuff, and you can see, you know, it's not a lot of efficient board clears for Mage. He's just stalling with freezes, with healing, and Kripp decides to heal his minion here instead of healing face. Probably wary of, like, Flame Strike. I don't know if that's in Reckful's list, but, you know, this way, if he does have a Flame Strike, it doesn't clear, and got Cold Light Oracle in hand for Reckful. That's 3 mana, draw 2 cards for both players. Staple an old Freeze Mage. You can mill, but more importantly, just draw cards. You stall the board. But instead, Reckful is just going to play an Acolyte, hero power, draw a card, freeze the board, 2 mana Frost Nova. You thought Frost Nova was annoying at 3. It used to cost 2 back in the beta as well. And yeah, Kripp can't interact, can't fight for board, but no ice block up yet for Reckful, so he's got to be wary. You know, his health is getting low. Kripp is still at 17. He can choose to heal up here with like a Holy Fire, or just further develop the board. He knows he's probably not dead at 17, so I think he wants to keep putting pressure on. But again, you got to keep in mind, like, you don't want to fill your board up too much, because if you fill up your board too much, you know, you get board locked on freezes. And he's healing minions. I don't probably agree with this from Kripp. I know he wants to protect his minions against, like, Blizzard and Flame Strike, but man, you know, you got to heal that face. You're at 17. It's getting a little bit sketch, but Reckful picks up Kona Cold, which was 3 mana. All the freeze cards used to be like 1 mana less during beta. They all got, like, this deck got nerfed quite significantly and was still good outside of beta with 6 mana Blizzard, 4 mana Kona Cold. But yeah, 3 mana Kona Cold, 2 mana Frost Nova, 5 mana Blizzard. Pretty insane stuff. So Reckful, I mean, he can just barrier up here, neutralize 9, 14 damage, and Kripp actually has pretty bad positioning here in terms of Kona Cold. He has all of his high attack minions all on one side, right? He would have been better off to put like the Temple Enforcer to the left, and Kripp's gotten very good at positioning over the years, but again, these are mistakes you were more likely to see back in the old days, so definitely a mistake from Kripp, knowing, Konokold's a card, but again, this is very early on Hearthstone. It's, kind of forgivable to, and hell, I still see people positioning correctly in 2020 and at High Legend and all that stuff. No many times I've seen a 2-drop Lackey not position in the middle when Direwolf Alpha is a card. It still triggers me to this day. So Kripp, again, his board's frozen. He's got 7, 10 on board. He could actually push the Holy Fire. He's one off procking, I believe, here with Ice Block. Actually, he can proc exactly, I believe, with Holy Fire and Shatterstone Cleric. And I think you do it. You want to apply that pressure because he's got spell damage +1 with Azure Drake. That's 7. It should be 6 damage on board. So let's take a look here. I should be procking, right? 6 + 6. Oh, it's barrier. Never mind. I forgot it's not barrier. It's ice. It's not ice block. It's barrier. So yeah, he can't proc this turn. Not quite the play he can do, but he was thinking about it. I think he would have been able to do it otherwise. But yeah, get the Holy Fire in now. This is important for Kripp. If you're gonna put your opponent down low, you want to get the Holy Fire in now, because when the ice block goes up, if you proc the ice block, say with the Holy Fire, you're not gonna get the healing. You could also heal your own minion. But Reckful picks up another Frost Nova. We have a 8 mana Pyroblast in hand, by the way. That was also pretty insane in beta. And yeah, Reckful can Frost Nova here, but he doesn't have to. He's at 8 health. There's not really anything he has to play around other than maybe Holy Fire, Holy Nova. Other than that, he's not dying. So he could choose to just like Frost Nova and Cold Light. Frost Nova, Cold Light, Cobalt Geomancer, something like that. Like, he doesn't have to put the ice block up if he doesn't want to. But again, you might want to play it safe, play around any reach spells. I don't know if Kripparian's running Holy Smite. Back then, it used to go face, and with Holy Fire, that would also proc him. So let's see what Reckful does. He has definitely a lot of lines he can take here. 22 health for the Priest. He's getting relatively low. Let's see what Reckful does. Well, a little bit of an animation bug. Yeah, they existed back then. Thankfully, they don't anymore, right? Just kidding, they still do, but they're not as bad. So see what Reckful decides. It looks like he's just going to throw Burn to the face. I like it. He doesn't even need to develop the ice block. There's only a certain amount of burn spells he can play around, and yeah, Kripp is down to 12 health. Important to note. And Kripp doesn't really have a play here. He can't remove the 2/2. He can't do anything. He can't play other than heal his face, and that puts him to 14 health with his hero power. And yeah, Reckful might have a certain situation lined up here. There might be a potential lethal coming up. To wait and see. So yeah, but I mean, Kripp only has one play here. He could death his own minion. He could death his own minion to draw with Azure Drake. I don't know what out you're looking for with that. But yeah, that's basically your out. If he has any play here, death your own minion, draw. But likely just get a hero power here. Deathing your own minion doesn't accomplish a heck of a lot. And yeah, so Reckful here has Pyroblast, which does 11. Frostbolt, which does 4. He has lethal. And he snap plays the Cold Light Oracle. He's tunnel visioned on staying alive, but yes. He's got the spell damage on board. So Pyroblast was 11 damage. The Frostbolt was 4. It's actually 15. It was 1 over. But yeah, he missed the lethal there, and he's just digging for more burn. And giving Kripp cards. Kripp's hand was pretty dead. And now he's got to develop Ice Block. He doesn't push any damage. He can't freeze the board. And things are not going to look so good. But yeah, Reckful missing that lethal that he was tormented by. This was a meme among memes. Look it up on YouTube. Wizard Poker has a pretty good compilation. That's an old school Hearthstone channel of Reckful getting trolled by Miss Lethal memes. They're hilarious. I highly recommend it, but it all came from this game, all from this moment. And yeah, it's pretty pivotal, pretty big mistake, and you have a good feeling it might cost him. So yeah, Kripp at 14 here. He can obviously proc Reckful. He can choose to do that in many ways. He's going to want to clear the board. He's going to want to heal as much as possible. He has the Holy Fire now. Reckful drew him the cards, giving him the Holy Fire, so he's got that option. But yeah, he's looking in a good spot now with being able to proc his opponent, getting himself to probably over 20 health. Kripp's going to not proc him at 1. I don't think he can really do that with the way this board was set up. Don't really see a line for that. And he's just figuring out what's the best way to trade. He's going to have to Holy Fire a minion now. He can't Holy Fire face and heal. That should not work. Actually, it's not lifesteal. What am I talking about? That's only for lifesteal. But anyways, disregard what I said earlier. I'm thinking about lifesteal. Holy Fire is not lifesteal. I'm so conditioned in New Hearthstone that I can't even think properly. But he should Holy Fire the minion here, or his own minions. He's actually not doing that. He's going to save it. That's interesting. That's ballsy, I gotta say. I guess he wants to save the reach to kill Reckful if his board's frozen. Surprise lethal with Holy Fire, but that makes me uncomfortable. I would have Holy Fired just to get as far out of range as possible. But yeah, Kripp is at 16 health here. Reckful has Pyro for 10 and another 3 with Frostbolt. Ice Lance, by the way, if anything is damaged, it will do 4 damage. That card was Hall of Fame many years ago. It's a staple in these Freeze Mage burn decks. And yeah, not much Reckful can do here other than probably block. He can draw with Acolyte, look for more burn. He could also just Blizzard and Ice Block, but that Holy Fire keep will be in the clutch for Kripp. So that's probably what he's thinking. I can't die from 16. So that might be his reasoning, but take that risk of holding it. So yeah, Reckful, again, in a really tough spot. We'll see what he does. I mean, I think he got a draw, but there's not that much burn left in his deck. Like, this Pyroblast, he has to play it as his finisher. Like, the only time he can ever play Pyroblast now, I believe, is in his lethal turn. Because I don't think he has another Frost Nova left. He might have another Frost Nova left to freeze the board. But we know that Kripp has Holy Fire in hand, so that won't work. So he's got to be able to finish the game with the Pyroblast. So looks like Reckful is just going to freeze the board, ping face, get the Ice Block up, and now Kripp can choose to proc with the Holy Fire, but his board has a spot open, so Kripp here, I think, oh, well, the Holy Nova makes this a lot less complicated, but he can just freeze one of his minions here if he wants to. Instead, he's going to proc him with the Holy Fire. He does get the heal. Lifesteal, you don't get the heal, but the spell itself heals you, so he should get the heal. I actually would have liked to see Spellbreaker there to proc, potentially. He could have done that, but I wouldn't fill your board. I wouldn't play anything here if I'm Kripp. You don't want to fill your board, because you want to be able to silence a minion if it gets frozen to finish the deal. And I think he just holds on. But I don't even know. A lot of players back in the old days didn't even know that, like, you could silence your own minion to push damage. So, be interesting if Kripp knew at the time. Good chance. Alex Strauss is picked up, but that doesn't do a heck of a lot for Reckful. He needs a freeze here. He's at 2 health, but we know that Kripp has Holy Nova in hand, so basically anything he does here, it's done. Reckful can no longer win the game. The miss lethal, very punishing, and Reckful would go on to lose this game and lose the series. Emote's well played, doesn't quite get there. This was the first game of the series, so it really set the tone. Let's skip ahead. Let's take a look at the last game. All right, so we're going to take a look at the last game. We're going to play it a little bit faster. The big meme game is kind of over that we guys got. But we got Paladin versus Priest. Kripp is up 2-0 in the series. He won the next game. And yeah, Kripp's Control Priest is doing some work. We got Reckful with Paladin. Divine Favors in his deck. Looks like it's a more of an aggressive, like, mid-range deck. We got Blessing of Kings, some Divine Shield stuff. Harvest Golem, giving him some resiliency. And yeah, Divine Favor, not great when you haven't been able to curve out, play your cheap stuff. So Reckful is going to play this card. You can see Novice Engineer was a 1-2. I probably missed that last game. But yeah, Novice Engineer, a 1-2. Kripp with the Spellbreaker, doesn't need to do it here. Plays the Twilight Drake. This outstats Reckful. And Reckful probably going to play the Blessing of Kings here on the Harvest Golem. Lets him trade and kill the Twilight Drake. He could also just go face, but can get pretty punished by death. He knows Kripp is running a Spellbreaker. I don't know what other play you can make. You could just play Scarlet Crusader maybe, just to try and generate a sticky token. But I like Blessing of Kings. Get that value trade, and if you get hit up, you at least will keep a minion on board. Instead, looks like he's playing the Scarlet Crusade. He's hero powering. Okay. Let's go to hero power, I guess, and play the Argent Command. No, he plays the Scarlet Crusader. Don't think Reckful really knew what to do that turn, and I think the King's play would have been probably the way to go, but again, this matchup looks pretty rough with Kripp having AoEs, removal, silences. This is going to line up really well for Reckful, or not Reckful, for Kripp. So yeah, we're left with a 2-1 on board. He could Hammer of Wrath. That's in his aggro token deck. That's interesting. Lets him draw. He's got a Lay on Hands. This deck has some fuel. Seems to be counterproductive with Lay on Hands and Divine Favor. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just some guy in 2020 watching a game in 2013. I don't know. Kripp plays another Twilight Drake. Gets some stats on board. We got Knife Juggler, which was a 3-2 back here. And yeah, Reckful is just going to spam the board, give it Divine Shield, make it annoying. Kripp has some options here. He can silence it, which is probably the best play, and then get a value trade, heal up one of his minions, and, you know, just dominate the board. And yeah, I mean, he's been ahead on board this entire game, and Reckful's the one playing the more aggressive deck, and this hand is just brutal. He's got Sword of Justice, which buffs minions. The card's still in Classic today, just sees no play. And Blessing of Kings here. Divine Favor was Hall of Famed. I mean, you got to be mana efficient here. You have Lay on Hands, you have Divine Favor, you got to play everything. Got a Sword of Justice, buff up. I think you got to trade, just clear the board. It's not ideal. It's not a good spot. Kripp's probably just going to Argent Commander here. It's pretty good. I don't think you need a death. You just don't need to waste that here. And Kripp's at full health, still has the board. Reckful, probably just going to draw 3. These Divine Favors are absolutely useless. When you're, like, typically when you have a Divine Favor deck, you want it to, like, basically have it in a deck where you're just vomiting your hand and Divine Favor draws a bunch of cards. 3 mana draw 2 as an intellect there is just not good enough. And I just noticed Argent Commander was a 4-3 back in beta as well. It's interesting these little changes they made. We did a video on nerfs, but we excluded the beta changes because there were a lot. And as you can note, there are a ton of changes. Maybe we'll revisit that someday. And yeah, Kripp's still just ahead. I don't know how Reckful can really get back into this game. It's just, yeah, his deck is just full of tokens that are just getting value traded and removed. The Sword of Justice giving the +1/+1 is nice, but it's just not enough to really outstat stuff. Like, you can see the Temple Enforcer and the Commander just outstat things here. And Kripp picks up the Ooze just as the weapon breaks, but Reckful does have a Sword of Justice in hand. He has plenty of options here. 4-attack Harvest Golem is pretty annoying. I would honestly consider mind controlling it, because, like, you just take it. You take the board. He's left with a 1/1. It's really good. And yeah, how does Reckful come back from this? It's a good mind control. And Reckful probably should just draw here. Or Divine Favor. You might get Divine Favor value. You can get the Protector out now to get an extra card. He chooses not to. He wants that extra mana. And he's got a Quality Consecrate. That can help him get him back in the game. A Quality back here. It's 2 mana, not 4 mana. And with a Quality Consecration, lets you take the board back. And there is that Death Rattle Harvest Golem in the way. I think you just hold your weapon charge, clear it next turn. Basically, everything Kripp plays will get removed. But yeah, Kripp can get some ooze value here. Probably won't want to go too wide, knowing that Reckful just drew a bunch of cards and likely can clear them. And you probably just ooze and go face. At this point, I don't think you're trading. You can trade to play around a quality, but that's 14 damage going to the face. And I like pushing it, but we all know Kripp likes to play it slow, likes to play it greedy. I wouldn't be surprised to see at least 1 trade here, if not 2, but Kripp never the type to really smork it up. So yeah, he trades, misses some damage effectively, because Quality Consecration always coming down here. Reckful can develop the Imp Master, get a bit of a wide board. He's got the board, but again, Kripp is at 25 health. He's got tons of resources in hand. He has draw, removal, healing. He's got fatigue advantage. He hasn't drawn that much compared to Reckful. And again, he just redevelops the board, controls the board. This is classic Kripparian in a nutshell. Just playing to win the long game. He loves to do that. Reckful's going to draw 8 here, or draw 3, sorry, heal for 8. And Reckful probably needs to find another Consecrate Equality. If he gets another quality, he can redevelop the board, and Kripp is starting to run out of steam. So maybe, just maybe, he can recover the board. But again, I'd like to see Kripp just go face here. He's trading way too much. He's trading so much. He's missed like 17 to 20 damage, I swear, this game trading. I mean, there's only 1 equality left in the deck, and there's no point playing around at this point. You're just missing damage. But this is 2013. Nobody's perfect. And a lot of people make that mistake of overtrading, not getting that maximum damage in. I make it every day to this day still. And yeah, Kripp, well in control. Again, he can push a lot of damage here. He's 9 on board. Holy Nova goes face for 3 back here. And now he starts pushing the aggression. Holy Fire, likely to seal the deal unless there's an equality here. Reckful can drop the Knife Juggler. That's about it. The game's over, though. Reckful's Miss Lethal basically made it that Kripp got a hold onto this Priest deck the entire time. If Kripp had lost that game, he would have not been able to play the Priest, and you never know what would have happened. Maybe Reckful would have won the series and gone on to face Artosis. But yeah, that's basically it for Reckful here. And it is interesting to note, Kripp went on to the finals after this game, but did not win. He did not win the World Championships or the Invitational. That went to Artosis. Artosis beat Kripparian in the finals. And yeah, that's the series. That's the game. That's this Hearthstone Rewind. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the little refresher to go back in time, look at these classic cards, look at this classic matchup between two of the all-time great Hearthstone legends, Twitch legends, amazing people. I've gotten to know both of them to an extent, and they're both amazing people. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.